Now, the key thing to notice is how in this load method, load data class, rather, I should say, we've created with the instantiation, which of course was created outside of the class in this run method. So you can see load data created here. And it's taking that input, the path, which we created previously, which we've required in the instantiation or the constructor of the class. So you have to create load data with an input called file location. Again, self is nothing more than a reference to the instance of a class. So you just need to always have that for any class function or method or constructor. Okay, so that's just a reality you have to always do, even if you have no input. So run file has no input, you can see, but it still needs self. Now, as you can see, most of the method is similar to what you've seen before. It opens a file, it reads the CSV file, goes through the rows in a reader, basically through the CSV line by line, and it basically skips the first line, and then it reads the rows. Similar to what we did last week, a little bit different. So this is just another way to basically read rows, and it's reading the row data by a column location, so 0, 1, 2. So from each row, so column 0, column 1, column 2, basically reading those X, Y, Z values that you see here, and then passing on to the child data. So what's going on with this kind of class instance, child data, is that basically it is requiring a kind of way in which we can create or encapsulate data within an object. So if we look at child data, so under the data, if you go ahead and look at data, you can see something called child data, and child data is nothing more than a holder of data. It has some very simple references to X, Y, and Z that we create, but it's also building off of a larger set of what's called inheritance. It's inheriting functionality from another object called data object. So if we click on data object, you can see that it has more methods such as X, Y, and Z, which are similar to the child data, but it also has something called add data. The child data has my Z as well, and then add X, Y, Z. So remember, we have things called inheritance. So an object can inherit qualities from another object by simply referencing that other object. So child data references data object, and that's how you reference in Python. You simply encapsulate it in the parentheses when you create the class or when you have the class. And that will inherit given objects. If you repeat the method, so let's say we have a method here called def myx, which is nothing more than a reference to x, so it creates an input to x. If we repeated that here, we would be basically be overriding it. So you can override methods by creating new functionality. If you do not override, it will simply create or apply the method that was created in the parent class, the parent class being data object. So effectively, we've created or applied a different concept of object-oriented programming, which is classes can build off of other classes, and they can inherit or override methods within those classes. That allows you to build more complex code without repeating too much coding effectively. So we need now data in our new hello world, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy it in there. Again, I'd like you to actually create the code just to practice writing the code, but just to save a little time, I'm going to just paste it in there. So you'll see that we've created in here a reference to child data and data object. So that'll help address the error in the code that's here. So now we have a reference to something called data, and it was going to import child data and data object. Okay, so those errors should hopefully now be addressed. Will allow you to create those. And then if you go down the code further in the run file, you'll see that we also need to create something called data analysis. So the next step is to create data.